So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining. It's really a pleasure to have you with us. So today it's another episode of Tech Talks, a series of webinars about digital fitness and technology shaping the future of the industry. And today we are covering a rather hot topic of motion recognition, movement recognition in the fitness space. And I've got some really interesting guests today with me. So maybe we can make a small run of introductions. Michalangelo, why don't you start first and go ahead and introduce yourself and your company.
Thank you so much, Derek. So this is Michalangelo speaking, Michalangelo Raiola to be precise. I'm former pro alpine skier, amateur track and field competitor. I spent essentially all my life together with my twin Pieralgelo, sharing our big passion related to sport. He's gonna say in a minute that he was better than me. No one is gonna deny it. But let's focus on what really brought us to fund together our dream, XTRA. Before funding XTRA, we divided our path. I graduated from a Master of Science in Quantitative Finance and Bocconi, and I spent essentially all my career working at a leading European activist hedge fund based in London. Piero, I will let you the intro on XTRA and of course on yourself.
So first of all, again, to all the Neoteric team for hosting us today. We feel privileged and we can wait to share, how computer vision is shaping the fitness industry, why this is important and pivotal for wellness provider to react in order to meet what the consumer are actually demanding. Michalangelo and I, first of all, hope you can bear with Italian accent. Born and raised in Italy, we are actually from a marvelous place called Napoli in the south, even though we've been living into a tiny village in the Dolomites as we were progressing with our alpine skiing career. Unfortunately, when I was 20, just before the Sochi Olympic, I twisted my ACL twice and I stopped my career, but that's how the two brothers basically moved in the United States, where I got a scholarship for the Yale School of Management and then moved into New York City, where I actually covered with an M&A boutique, telehealth and wellness enterprises to actually understand what was happening into the industry. And it was extremely interesting because digital virtual healthcare was exponentially growing, not only in the United States, but I fully believe that this is a worldwide phenomenon. And on the same side, there was a lot of people that were having problems with conversion, retention, and engagement. And then the COVID pandemic happened. And the only positive thing that I will say is that with the COVID pandemic, there's been massive acceleration in digital fitness. And that's how we decided to see this valuable opportunity with XTRA, which we will discuss shortly.
Great, thank you very much, and it's really a pleasure to have you guys with us. And our third speaker today, guest, is Kacper Bazyliński from my team, working at Neoteric and leading our AI team. Kacper, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks. Thank you for the invitation. I'm happy that I can take part in these discussions. Well, I'm a leader of the AI department at Neoteric. I'm taking care of the team. I'm taking care of managing the projects, and I ensure that we deliver on time with high quality. So basically, that's my main responsibilities at Neoteric. I'm in data science and artificial intelligence field since I started reading some science fiction books in my high school, and basically that's how my journey in this field started. And then I studied bioinformatics, and this gave me some capabilities how to solve some nowadays present problems in the world with the help of AI.
Great. So you've been in the industry in the AI space longer than it was actually a buzzword.
Yeah. In the past years, at least in Poland, it was called statisticians. There was no such title job position as data scientist or even machine learning engineer. So yeah.
Great. Really glad to have you with us as well, Kacper. Okay, so let's begin our discussion. So I think maybe starting with a bit of how to say intro to the whole topic. That human pose estimation, movement recognition, computer vision, motion detection, etc., etc. There are many of those words flowing around in the industry. Oh, I can see that we've got already results of our survey. Yep. So I think we'll cover it soon. But moving back to the topic of naming conventions and all those names and different way you can call them. Are those basically the same thing, or are there different things? So how shall we understand how we should navigate through difficulty of different names?
I can take the lead on that side since computer vision is the technology we deliver at XTRA. The technology is what matters, and you can name it in different way, but that's computer vision, which is a subset of artificial intelligence. It is a solution that is able to analyze a body in real time to detect movements. At the same time, while you are able to detect these movements, you can apply the insight in real time. For instance, those are very valuable information that any wellness enterprise can leverage to better engage with their customer, such as, of course, the quality of the form, your intensity zone, the number of repetition, all of these tools which we're not able to leverage for actually having this personal touch as a wellness provider, which now with this technology, we can detect and provide it at scale.
Okay, so how does it relate movement recognition to pose estimation? What's the difference?
I think it's all the same. While we're doing a bodyweight exercise, we're moving. Okay, a pose detection is just we can understand from the analysis of the movement, specifically with angles, distance of the joints, if you're performing a certain exercise in a bodyweight session or a yoga pose. We can analyze in real time the angles and say, okay, because you have these angles on your knee, that's most likely a squat. At the same time, a warrior one for yoga, and that happens in real time. This is very important, again, because it can be leveraged for much better guidance, so having the personal touch while you're working out remotely, and also to track your progress over time, so that you can, again, give positive triggers, milestones, and achievements to your member.
Okay, got you. So the post estimation is about checking how your body is positioned and then getting sense out of it. Okay, so what about those skeleton-like virtual models? How is it interesting for the fitness industry? What how the fitness industry can benefit out of them?
Yes, and again, I want to just do a step back. The skeleton model is just a visual representation on how the technology is enabled to calculate in real time certain metrics. You mentioned movement recognition. You mentioned pose estimation. Pose estimation is the capability to analyze in real time the exercise. The skeleton is just how you're able to analyze it. At the same time, the intensity is a function of the speed. So you can visually see through the skeleton because you're moving at a certain pace that you're burning more calorie or you're sculpting your muscle. I think what really matters here is not the visual skeleton in itself, just the mechanism of the technology, is how you're able to detect this important analytic and leverage it to your business so you can provide value to your members. Again, and this it can be in terms of a form correction. It can be in terms of challenging them to actually work on certain specific body muscle or whatever is core to your value proposition that your members really care. Is a very important piece of the puzzle of the equation, because the more we know our member, the more we can actually serve in a better way them, and we can adopt a customer-centric approach. In regards to the skeleton, again, you can display a skeleton, you can display text, you can use sounds, you can use voice. All of these things is just a natural consequence of the capability of the technology. We know what you're doing, and we're here to serve you as a business.
Okay, so I understand that the skeletons is just part of the technology, and this is like a building block where you can add additional features and value to the end users.
Correct. And it's also a visual representation for the skeleton. You can visualize immediately where is a certain form mistake or trigger certain feedback that you're notifying in real time and displaying the relevant information to the user. But that's not mandatory. Again, I think that's just a visual immersive experience, but there's tons of other. Again, the important thing about computer vision is that while you're moving in front of a camera, With the right capability, you can detect movement and you can give a meaning to the movement in order to actually impact drastically the acquisition, the conversion, and the retention of your member.
Mm-hmm. And I see, you know, when I think about computer vision, you know, in the fitness industry, you know, what comes to my mind often is, you know, and people I speak with, you know, tonal mirror, tempo, you know, where you know, often you have mirrors that you train in front of, and you know, so probably, you know, a lot of people are, you know, wondering whether you actually need special hardware to be able to use computer vision for, you know, their fitness platforms, or is it's not required because, you know, what the users already have, it's already sufficient. What's your take here?
I think that that's the most amazing, powerful tool about computer vision is that, again, with the right capabilities, you don't need special hardware, you don't need a special camera. This technology is available in every camera that is embedded into a device, laptop, tablets, mobile phone. And the important things here is really that with the right capabilities, you can turn your phone, your laptop into a wearable, which can be leveraged for a much better experience. Of course, among and across all the devices, there's different requirements and challenges which amplify the experience. A camera, for instance, can remove certain spatial limitation, but at the same time, because the cameras of our phone, our iPhones or Android device is so great right now that you can deliver a fantastic experience at scale also across all the devices. I see that we have a question which is in the chat. I don't know, Derek, if we would like to address it or we can go on with you know, the topics to make it.
Yeah, we can go ahead with the topics because we'll definitely go back to this question. Thanks, Brian, for asking. It's a very good question, and we'll come back to it. And if anybody else, you know, if you have questions, just, you know, please post them on the chat, and we'll be answering them. Definitely.
I would like to add something on top of what Pieralgelo said. There is a reason why I believe all these mirror companies started implementing this solution. As he correctly pointed out, it is indeed available to every camera. But one of the, you know, pillar of this solution is that perhaps in front of mirror companies, it's easier for user to understand they're in the frame. One of the challenges of computer vision is, of course, as Pieralgelo was saying, if you access it through a phone, maybe it's difficult for the user to understand whether it stays on the frame or not. As you can imagine, if you get out from the frame, there is no data capturing and hence no real-time guidance or feedback.
Oh, I see. So would it make sense to also use, you know, like body recognition to inform the user if they are within the frame or not while they're working out?
I think it's a very relevant point, and that's essentially also one of the features we provide in our solution. It is extremely important that it's scalable. And so if you're accessing from a different device, maybe you should get notified as soon as you get out from the frame. That is one of the things you can tackle in order to make it available to phone, computer, and whatsoever.
Sure. And Kacper, how about you? What's your experience, you know, building computer vision solutions? Do you know?
Well,
would you agree with Michalangelo and Piero about, you know, the phones and laptops that we already have, that they are sufficient?
It depends. Till some point, yes, I would say they would be sufficient. But in other points, no. It's especially dependent when we are talking about some fast activities, fast movements, high frequency moves. The same case goes with, as my colleagues mentioned, that we are going out of frame. So these are the things that makes solutions based only on image inaccurate in these edge cases, let's say. But quite frequent problem that I did experience during development such solutions, just let's say human pose estimations with the only camera image, is the coordinates, especially the z-axis, which is the depth. When you are going closer or to the camera, or we are doing something opposite. So it happens that some coordinates are not precise. And in this case, sometimes it is good to mix these features. For example, you are using smart bands and camera image. because you have different data from different sources, and they can overlap themselves, and they can and they can like work out the best solution because they mitigate each other disadvantages.
Yes, and I would like to build on what Kacper is saying, that again, this technology is so powerful. So the first question that we should ask is, okay, but why is it not so adopted today? And as you mentioned, Kacper, there's a lot of challenges, a lot of failure case. It's very hard to build accuracy in a way that it becomes relevant to the provider. And you want, but as a computer vision software, which is our mission at XTRA, you really want to train the models on the back end in a way that you minimize the failure cases. You want to provide the freedom of posture while detecting a pose. You want to provide the accuracy with different conditions across different devices, which are impacted by network speed, lighting. On that side, that's why I'm very confident on what we're doing, because with XTRA, the first 7 months of the company, we've been a marketplace where we were doing live classes online with a couple of hundred trainers and 5,000 users from 65 countries to understand the user behavior and to understand really how we can deliver the information in a way that is meaningful to myself as a fitness enthusiast. And again, this is a very difficult business, and it's our job to put it in the hand of the consumer. So in terms of the fast-paced exercise, that's a challenge. We can solve it with general models, which again, instead of analyzing certain specific metric, you become generalistic, but you still display meaningful information at scale. And so as a person, again, it's not only about learning exercise by exercise, but it's actually learning exercise, improving the exercise, and at the same time having a personal touch while I'm working out. So the personal guidance is really the value. I'm not only watching content, I'm not only moving with myself. Technology is here to support business, fitness professional, and delights user while they're moving. That's the objective here.
Yeah, it's interesting story, Piero, that you mentioned that you started, guys, with a B2C business, providing online classes to everyday users, and at the moment you've shifted to B2B business. Can you tell us more about this journey and what kind of value do you bring at the moment to your?
Absolutely. With XTRA, we started our beta, where actually we were building the software in itself with a platform. That was not really because we wanted to be an end consumer product, but for the nature of the business with computer vision, the most valuable asset is the database. How you actually understand the user behavior to run the model in real time so that you can deliver value to your clients. And it was an extremely learning experience, because when we started in the beginning, we were a simple video solution like Zoom, Twilio, and we had terrible KPIs. People were not activating camera, poor weekly usage, poor monthly usage. There was a very poor acquisition from the existing user base. And as soon as we started integrating intensity tracker to challenge the user to have fast pacing and cardio, or some sort of form correction, or triggering with repetition counting because you can do better the last time. Okay, we had a tremendous improvement in the metric that I just mentioned. Much higher referral from the existing user base, which impact acquisition. Much higher weekly and monthly retention. And that's how we decided, okay, that's the time that we're ready. We know we're solving a problem for the members. Let's go actually to the businesses so that we can empower them. And that was our journey. And on the second thing, which I think it's worth mentioning, we understood a lot of the challenges that Kacper just mentioned. Again, at the beginning, we had a lot of failure cases, lighting, distance, network. And again, if you're not accurate, you're not relevant. One of the most important feedback that we receive is that you don't want to not recognize the effort in real time. That's super frustrating for user. And at the same time, you don't want to generate incorrect feedback. So that was an extremely important, again, tremendous point and learning experience, because it's not only about the accuracy in itself, but it's also how you deliver the information that is relevant to me as a member that I'm moving this time.
That's actually super important. I think super interesting to our audience to get your best practices of how to feed this information back to the users, how to encourage them, and how to build features around the capabilities of computer vision.
It's quite a paradox, because in one hand, you want to spend all your resources to improve the AI itself, to make it as more accurate as possible. But on the other hand, maybe you can work out with the features. So even with these inaccuracies, it can still give relevant data. So, you know, you are looking for the you are like shuffling between high quality feedback and highest model accuracy, and both of them doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. Yeah, so this is a good point that were mentioned here, that you don't have to work out these inaccuracies by gathering more data and training the model, but rather focusing what kind of feedback is valuable and how you can convert this current predictions in a valuable feedback. So yeah.
So what are your experiences? You know, how does it work best? You know, what kind of feedback should be provided to encourage people to train more, improve?
I think that I can take the lead on that with the value we're getting from our first clients and providers, and there's two ways to use this technology. I will start also by clustering in different fitness activity, because one of the feedback that we got is that you have to be very precise with the type of metrics. Again, imagine that you're doing a session with a personal trainer. The personal trainer will be different if you're doing a cardio or a strength or a yoga session. It will behave differently, and also the information that is going to give it to you is going to be different. And that's very specific, because again, you want to have a fantastic individual fitness session. If we're talking about the cardio activity, a HIIT session, which is growing exponentially here, I will say that a great way to trigger user is to actually monitor their pace. Again, if you're doing Tabata session in which you're doing jump and then convert it to jump squat, high knees, vertical jumps, or a certain number of reps, you want to trigger the user to achieve a certain pace which is according to the session. And having the real-time sound that you are on track with the experience is extremely valuable. You get pumped. It's a sort of motivating aspect that you want to deliver with the technology. Conversely, on strength, we couldn't care less about speed. It's about the quality of the exercise that we're doing. We're building muscle. Again, the number of repetition per body zone is how I'm going to build my strength program. And at the same time, there's form correction, because I'm expecting to have guidance. Again, I'm alone at home or whatever. I don't know how to do a movement. And if I can actually assist my client remotely automatize my backs, for instance, which I have always problem, postural analysis, range of motion analysis, you're doing an exercise, you want to make sure that at least you want to touch the user. And that's very valuable for strength. And we can name it other for yoga and Pilates, which again, according to the requirement, you want to make sure that there's data that in real time feed and motivate the user. That's the big picture of the technology. I just want to answer a relevant question that I saw, which is, I think it's very valuable for us, which I should have mentioned. You mentioned about TensorFlow, Google Media Pipe. Those are open libraries that you can use to actually build a computer vision API. They're a fantastic tool, but they present a lot of limitation. They have only certain body marks. Why body marks are important? This is how we build the technology. Once we're doing an exercise, we monitor distance, we monitor the angle of certain joints, we monitor the speed. Again, because where we were doing the marketplace, we saw people how they were moving in reality, in a real life scenario. They change posture, they change sides, prulating. There's a lot of limitation. So if the model doesn't see the skeleton, as you mentioned before, Darek, that's where the accuracy starts, or the inaccuracy to be better precise. For XTRA, because we understood immediately these challenges and the feedback from the user were, I don't want to have incorrect feedback. That's a pain. We basically build our proprietary body mark. We monitor a lot of points because we want to make sure to give freedom to the user. It doesn't matter if you're standing front, diagonal, or on the side. We have to be able to detect inside. And having more points allows you to pinpoint the right one so that you can deliver the valuable information. However, of course, TensorFlow and Google Media Pipe are a very great starting point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And I also wanted to ask you that there is this second question from Brian asking about, I think now it's relevant to what we are discussing is, how do you make sure that, once people already know how to do the exercise, that they still want to use computer vision, that they don't just use it so that, they can learn the new exercise and then forget about the technology.
I think that that's you should really see this technology not only just as a tool to correct people, because people, they don't want to only be corrected, by the way, they want to improve. and therefore there's historical tracking. So it's not about just learning new stuff or just making sure that you can achieve an exercise. There's so many metrics that you can leverage. Again, the number of reps, the muscle you're using, how well you can do an exercise over time. All of this, imagine that you're a trainer, okay? You use certain information to stimulate your member to actually come back in the gym, achieving the results. The technology of computer vision is I activate the camera, I see a person moving, and then I detect certain information that I have to use, whether it is for real time or for historical progress in terms of different metrics. So you can use this technology to engage really your user base in a very different, infinitesimal way. An example, assessment. How beautiful it is as a user that I can map my individual physical capabilities. The example is here with Michalangelo, my twin. We are twins, we have two completely different body types. Imagine that I can analyze my qualities. Maybe I have more core endurance, maybe Miki has a little bit more better, what can I say about my brother better?
Cardio, maybe, velocity, many other things, but...
stepping on ice.
Yeah, and the point here is really to understand that we should get different recommendation, and also different plan optimized depending on our individual capabilities, and we need to track them. So that's another important point of the technology. Do you remember also, guys, a couple of years ago during the pandemic, Nike launched what we call Nike Challenge. There was Cristiano Ronaldo, which was doing 150 abs in 60 seconds. Crazy thing. I tried the experience and I thought, oh, the Nike is not counting, I had to count and then share it. You can use this as a challenge tool to actually engage with your community, creating leaderboard, dashboard. So there's tons of application on that side.
I think that here I want to jump in and just to summarize it a bit on Brian's question. I think that you should see this technology as really the tool to transform a single session in a long-term well-being journey. That is key for your providers. When you think about it, it's not only about understanding how to do an exercise and do it once. The challenge is to return your clients, and the solution is giving prescriptive feedback. Okay, when we talk about personalized recommendation, is what is going to allow Michalangelo, for instance, to really waiting and looking for the next session and how it's going to get personalized achievements, which are really relevant to me. Again, the purpose is to make me a recurring user. I use technology to achieve that.
We just received, by the way, a great question, in my opinion, just now in terms of what is setting up, what is correct. And for instance, yoga is a great use case. When we talk about correct, that reflects, in my opinion, only the quality of the pose that you're achieving, which again is subject to different requirements depending on the instructor. You should think as the pose estimation really on, we try to see the angles, and then depending a certain interval, we can trigger the feedback. But the technology is more than that, again, because through this technology, you can monitor the muscle that you're using, the calories, and those are very relevant for vinyasa, fast-paced yoga. In terms of form correction, there's tons of work to do, in my opinion, and that's why we're doing pilots with a lot of providers, because we want to actually understand the user behavior and how to set up what can work for the majority of the instructors, so that we deliver the right information. Computer vision analyzing real-time movements. The definition is set up by the one that want to give the feedback. So that's a very good point, because again, if you think that the Warrior 1, Warrior 2, or there's some level of flexibility which are advanced and different than a beginner, you can actually change this threshold and make it relevant with your use cases. So there's no fixed model. It's always a consistent learning and training those models to get the best experience for your individual provider. Those can be custom made.
I remember I had experience working on similar problem about what is a correct pose. It wasn't for yoga, but for let's say a repetition of particular movements that your trainee has done, and we were working on pose estimation. So our output for AI was the key points, right, the coordinates of the limbs, and then we had to create some kind of post-processing algorithm to measure the similarity, because we have lack of future data to measure the similarity as the next pipeline of AI. And it creates many challenges. One of them we already mentioned about the inaccuracies in the predictions of the pose estimation. Someone was sometimes missing their hands out of the frame, and many more. But one thing was also quite important, that people have different length of their limbs. They can do exactly the same thing, but they look in different way. The angles between the particular body parts differs because of the individual differences in our body shape, because the proportions aren't necessarily the same. So this is also clue how to create such similarity score, and this is pretty slow and iterative work because you have just look at different cases, how people then compare them visually, because no one will do it for you, and see if this is correct. You have to ask some dance lecturers or someone else who will judge. Well, this is okay. In these cases, the similarity score works. In some specific timestamp, it just didn't work. We have to work out how to solve this each case. So it's pretty long, iterative way and quite challenging thing to set up manual algorithms to decide if it's something is correct or not. But it can be approached in other way if we have enough big data sets to just build another AI who takes input of body pose estimations from the coach and the participant, right? And just measure them, and based on that, he could get some scoring. But this is different way, and currently it's challenging because of the amount of volume data would be required for that. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Kacper. Next question from the audience is: what's the biggest challenge faced by XTRA to build the computer vision model?
I can take this one, and I think there's so many. This is an early stage technology. I think that let's go in order with the customer feedback. And how we address this challenge. The first thing is spatial limitation. As you mentioned before, you want to make sure that people are in the screen and you can detect the data most of the time to avoid actually generating incorrect insight. So one of the things that they also complain, starting from that point, is that they want to have a seamless experience with AI. And it basically means that with the status quo of computer vision, once we started our journey with the company, we saw that a lot of companies were using artificial intelligence, but it was putting a lot of load and pressure on the company or on the trainers, meaning the model were working only by presetting the exercise and matching the analysis on that exercise. But again, when we sit down with users, they told us, look, I don't want to do only live class with a trainer. I want to work out by myself, or I want to watch on-demand content. So the biggest challenge at the beginning was really to try to build a model which could have inferred in real time. At XTRA, we don't care what you're doing. We don't need to preset. We try to activate the camera and then, of course, try to analyze and infer in real time what you're doing and give this relevant metrics. And this has been an extremely biggest challenge. But today, I can confidently say that we are a few, actually maybe the only one that can do live classes or just mirror yourself and detect data. At the same thing, big challenge is to display the data in real time. So AI requires a lot of computational power. You don't want to give the insight after 10 minutes, right? Because otherwise, how can I use this information? And you want to make sure that it works for all the devices. So it was a crucial moment for us to understand how we could have synthesized the data with certain network, with certain camera resolution, that again, you can always get a decent feedback on your experience. And we came up with a proprietary solution, which of course is an ongoing process for all the things that I'm mentioning, so that we can deliver, no matter what, at certain condition, insights. And of course, that's one of the biggest advantages, because today, again, we saw with customer feedback that they wanted to have a group session to have challenges, the fantastic leaderboard, that not only on live class, but also on demand. On demand, people want to connect with their friends, not to work out and just watch content. And you want to synthesize this information with multiple people at the same time in the same room. Big challenge, of course. How we display and how we basically deliver the information through our servers and the clients is a way to solve it. And I can confidently say that we are on the right track. But again, there's going to be so many big challenges. Post detection, you want to have freedom of posture. Form correction, you want to make sure that you can deliver even the most specific feedback, and that's very complicated and not scalable. So we are at the early stage of the technology. The important thing is try to sit down with the team and understand how we can easily find a solution which, again, are applicable and deliver value to the fitness provider, because that's the key. You can detect a lot of data, but the most important thing is that when we sit down with the providers, you can use this information because you have a business goal, which again can be acquisition, can be engagement, can be retention, and that has to be very valuable for the end user.
And now with this technology, do you think that there is still space for coaches? Or do you think that the
100%.
Of course,
technology will replace
course.
it? Will get it at this level that there will be no added value by human coaches.
I think it never starts with the technology. The technology is just a tool. I'm a big fan because the way that I see it, AI and computer vision, it's a way to empower humanity. Okay, you want to give all the support to actually empower the professional that they can deliver even more experience at scale. Okay, an example, the physical assessment, you can automatize that, but you will always have the trainer giving you the insight, the motivation. You will just have better data to give better recommendation at scale. In real time, the model can help in classes with multiple people at the same time that you cannot follow all the time. Imagine that you have 50 people in your class. As a trainer, that's quite hard to synthesize the information. You can provide leaderboard. The trainer will use the leaderboard and use the technology for their user because he knows what or she knows what's valuable or not. The technology is just a tool that you can use for yourself.
I would add something here other than a tool that you can use for yourself. Is actually the car, let's call it that way, that's going to deliver to the professional the clean output that he then can use to better engage with his community. So it actually empower, as Pieralgelo was saying, the professional, rather than you will actually have less need than that. We don't see this absolutely in that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so, are you guys maybe afraid that now pandemic is finishing, people are returning to traditional gyms? Is it still relevant? Maybe just trying to challenge you a little bit. Maybe people are going back to traditional gyms and they don't need those kind of solutions.
Well, here, Derek, I'm going to take the lead, and I prefer to answer to this question with some numbers. So we will be quite precise. From a report on Statista and actually McKinsey, a fantastic report on the wellness industry where they claim that the future is digital, you can easily find that 90%, 90%, of consumers who have switched to exercising at home have actually stuck with it. Okay, let's do a step back. The problem with the current status quo of the industry, or at least in the US, is that number of people who have considered to be physically active actually never changed, remained stable for the last 30 years. So it's not actually that people will stop using digital when the pandemic is going to end, or actually nowadays. You should see the solution as a new market opportunity where actually you can convert the 3 out of 5 Americans who do not meet the general CDC health condition. Let's give ourselves a bit of space and apply pretty much the same statistics everywhere in the world. Okay, that's our mission. We want to empower well-being providers in essentially accessing the big remainder of the pie. Okay, converting and retaining users who for a lot of time haven't been able to move in a long-term journey rather than for a single session where you commit to some physical activity for 1 week and after 3 weeks your churn rate goes to 90%.
But I will say that I also want to complement that again, a camera doesn't have to be at home. Like I'm a strongly believer of the hybrid model. That's going to happen on our work. We see, like we go to the office or we stay home. That's how the pandemic just changed the status quo. And with XTRA, we don't really care whether you're working out at home or in the gym or in the park. We want to basically democratize this insight at scale that you can use it anywhere. Of course, today you can use it with laptop, tablets, mobile phone, or embedded camera in connected manufacturer. I'm pretty sure that also the gym of the future will have this type of experience where they will embed camera that can trigger this data and create challenges. And I think that technology is so powerful. You don't want to limit the possibility to give insight on your body weight exercise just at all. So of course there will be a lot of technical challenges, but at the same time, we want to provide this experience not only for working out remotely, but also to working out in the gyms. But I would say that in terms of working out remotely, that will still stay strong. And I think people will adopt the tool. We'll do certain session in the gym, certain time. You just want to give more option to your customer, so that and you want to make sure that whenever they are, you can bring the same valuable experience to them.
It's interesting. You're saying that the technology that is currently reshaping how we train at home with computer vision may also end up in brick and mortar
100%.
gyms.
I can take the question again from the chat.
Go ahead.
In terms
But
of
you have to read the question because I don't think that the audience.
Okay, setting up live classes for people to work out together through CV doesn't seem like a strong mode. How do you see XTRA being more unique in the industry? The live class again is just a way to work out. So that's one of the things that you can provide through this technology. It's not the only thing that we do with XTRA. With XTRA, actually, what we do, we have two main products: the software as a service, which basically serves large enterprise to leverage bodyweight session, no matter what you're doing, in on-demand, live, or assessment. And the second one is a platform as a service for live classes. Our very differentiator is that we want to make sure that no matter the device and what you're doing, we can deliver this valuable insight at scale. That's how we're going to position XTRA. And analyzing also the market in the fitness, wellness, and also the healthcare industry, that's provide meaningful value to businesses and to providers. The moat is actually trying to build what we're building in terms of the technology. And I would say that to be very accurate with different settings and inferring in real time is quite challenging. This is the reason why there's so few, actually.
And you mentioned about the technology bringing a lot of value around user retention, workout engagement. Are you able to give us some examples or some stats of
Absolutely. I can talk about. Let's break it down actually. So let's take a player that leverage on demand. So with on demand, they were having poor organic acquisition. They leveraged the technology to create small challenges on demand sessions, short workouts, and basically by plugging computer vision, which again doesn't have to be Alexa. What I want to picture is the experience, okay? Which basically they were leveraging challenges in terms of the repetition, challenges in terms of intensity. People were actually bringing their friends on this on-demand content. It was basically a way to amplify the visual experience of the content in itself. And they had 80% increase in terms of acquisition on a month, just after the first month. In terms of the engagement, the usage, for instance, I can mention about assessment and how assessment are an automatized tool that, first of all, remove a lot of bottleneck for the providers, and second of all, is highly recurring because you want to check the progress over time. And that's how you impact weekly and monthly assessment if you are actually leveraging and you want to map your users at scale.
Gotcha. Thanks a lot. So it sounds like it was helping the users to bring other users, yes, because they were encouraged to train with others. Correct?
Yeah, you finally bring what was missing on previous experiences. People could not engage, could not benchmark. The experience was extremely static and personal. So as soon as you start giving some credits to the community, then also you incentivize people to bring other people within it. So,
wow, that's a really nice example. And
yeah.
I like the technology because I think that this is what you do when you go to the traditional gym. Experience a kind of similar phenomenon where you might find certain classes very interesting, and then you bring your colleagues, your friends to train along with you, and you can share experiences and see how you're performing. And maybe with technology that with computer vision you can have similar way of working with others doing this online.
100%. The social aspect is extremely true. As we keep saying, this technology shouldn't be seen against social interaction. It should actually empower it in any kind of digital activities. Okay. And Derek, there is a question which I don't know what user posted. It's the last one. I would like Piero to address it, and then maybe I can comment on it. I'm going to read it out loud. I think it's, yes, there you go. Are you looking towards more physiotherapy or fitness? A suite of both, and it seems like a niche to join, which in my opinion has a bigger market share.
I think telehealth, not just physiotherapy, has a much bigger share in the future, at least. The reason why we started with fitness, I think it comes from our background. It was an industry that we knew and where we actually could have visualized a pain point for the provider to start. It was also very powerful for us because, as Kacper mentioned before, it's much harder to have accuracy in fitness than in physiotherapy. Again, in fitness, most likely you're going to do a fast-paced exercise, which I can tell you that it's much harder to detect than a simple physiotherapy session. For physiotherapy, there's a extremely tangible variable, which in my opinion is how virtual digital healthcare is shaping. And physiotherapy shouldn't be only related to, by the way, injuries, which unfortunately I had too many in my career, but it should be also in improving range of motion, the elderly people market, which is growing exponentially in the US, and doing some simple but very powerful plans in physiotherapy, which can be automatized at home through range of motion analysis, form correction, strength program, because we know that again, strength is one of the main factors to actually prevent falls. And remember that 3 over 4 people fall after 65 years old. It's very important and valuable to provide this information. I think that will be very valuable for all of the computer vision provider to take a look at it. I think for us, the big picture is really is starting with fitness because of our experience, but we want to tap into healthcare and wellness. You can get so much data by analyzing movements, and that should not only be related to, again, fitness and physiotherapy. We can analyze, for instance, one of the things that we are developing is what we call biometric model, which can be applicable in nutrition and in physiotherapy, which is the possibility to detect instantly your body type, your body shape, your BMI. We're trying to define BFI, which is quite accurate for women from 18 to 35 years old, because again, you can leverage this data to provide better prescription. And we know that fitness, or to better say, wellness is a composition of nutrition, fitness, and resting. So when you can provide data to the providers in one of these spectrum, then you can have a meaningful value to them.
It's worth to add regarding the psychotherapy that it's additional challenge there, because assume that you are totally correct in measuring if you are doing the exercise correct, and to estimate if you have good enough movement range.
Mm-hmm.
But how to decide if you don't, let's assume that you don't have the correct movement range, and how to decide why? Is it because you are not stretched enough? Is it because you have pain? If yes, then when the pain is, which muscle are not stretched enough, right? And this is something you won't see via the computer, via the camera, right? So this is another, let's say, layer of challenge, how to solve that, because in physiotherapy, you need to get the feeling why your patient is not able to do this exercise, right? So this is something we have yet to come up probably.
Correct. And again, there's so many things that we first of all, implementing better 3D models, having a density map that can see actually the difference between body fat composition and muscle composition. All of these things will come down the road. We are at a very early stage, I would say, part of the technology. And I think that the best is yet to come. We're just at the sunrise. Today we detect exercise, we can detect intensity, repetition. That's, again, it's extremely powerful, but there's so much more that we can achieve. And we can wait to actually see what will happen in the wellness and healthcare industry in the future. So there's so much needed disruption and innovation to provide better value for our people. I want to stretch one thing, which I think people forget, like only one person over 5 actually move more than 150 minutes per week. So I think that we are a wellness provider, we should really see this number as an opportunity. We have to do better, whether it is with technology or any other mean, to convince poor people to move at least from what is recommended from the guidelines of the health departments. And that's the opportunity. 60 million only in the United States move consistently. What about the other 240? I think that having also new innovative idea on let them move 5-10 minutes with a different concept would be a great tool, because these people, they need to have wellness providers to start a much better health journey. So there's much needed innovation, which I think not only again in the technology, but also in the concept of giving valuable experience to our members. And I'm very keen that all of us should really dig down and see what we can do to bring more valuable, healthy option to the people, generally speaking.
Yeah, technical comment. We are running a survey. I think it should be still open. And the question is about what is your current stage of adoption for movement recognition at your business? And yep, looking at the results at the moment, you see that there are only few answers. So please, you still can give your answers, I think. Yep, let's keep it coming, and let's summarize the results at the end, and let's get back to the discussion. Okay, so let's say somebody's convinced that they should implement a movement recognition solution. So what does it take to build such an algorithm? Maybe Kacper from your end, you building such solutions.
There are. Let's go with one option. One option is that you are starting with gathering the correct data, high quality data, labeled ones. If different labels, if you are in different data sets, if you are looking for pose estimation, different data sets, if you are looking for body recognitions, and so on. But you have you need to have quite of them. At least I would say this is the latest rule of thumb. Thousands of pictures or sequences if it's like pose estimation. So it's already a lot of work and investments to gather such volume. Then it's good to have in mind that you have this data should be diversified poses, diversified different person that will do some movement on this records, different backgrounds, different cameras angles. There are many things that you have to pay attention regarding the diversification of your data to make sure that your AI will be self-dependent and will work in many different environments. Then work begins with the algorithm. You have to come up how you will measure efficiency of your solution. If you are interested in analyzing the repetitions of the experience of the exercise, you have to focus on something else. If you want to measure the how good he is in repeating the same sequences of movement, then you are focused again on different things. And each time, in some cases, this solution will work. In different cases, it won't. You have to work them usually manually to see because usually they are deep learning models, so they are hard to interpret when they work or not, unless you just see the real example and you have to just work out them. And then you have to create some ideas how to fix this problem. You go around with the user feedback. You augment more data. You try to build bigger models. Many options are possible. So this is the one option. Second option is, which is more frequent currently, because nowadays it's highly likely you will get your own private data sets, initial training sets. So basically, you start with open source data sets and open source models, which already exist. So it's a good idea to start with that, build some proof of concept, with some MVP, and then evolve with it, develop the solution, same as I just mentioned, in the same way.
Yeah. Michalangelo, Piero, anything to add here?
Yes, I want to stretch the fact that I think it's very hard to build computer vision meaningful APIs. That's why also with XTRA, I believe that our main competitor, at least in fitness, will be other startups. When you actually analyze the landscape, even among the big players, there's only a few of them that were able to pull off certain type of in-house team, and we work also with them. And the reason why we work with them is because, again, they can be very good maybe in analyzing one certain specific metric, but then the development time, the accuracy, if they want to provide a different type of experience in different session, is quite slow. So, and this is applied to companies which have millions of budget. I think it can be quite difficult to replicate for the majority. So that's why I believe that there's massive opportunity, not only for XTRA, but for a lot of us that will build computer vision APIs, because you have to be a software with meaningful experience in the domain to actually provide this accuracy at scale. And Building in-house, it will be quite hard. There's a few talents that are very good in computer vision, and also the right expertise to have the right time to market. When you have the advantage of using a third party is actually this, like you can develop much faster and you can have a much faster time to market, and you can be core to your business. You're providing certain type of experience in yoga, strength. You should just actually maximize the technical tool, find the right partner that can deliver this type of experience, and work on the user interface and user experience to deliver the right message. That should be the core of the third party, actually.
Hakan is asking from the audience. There's a question from Hakan. How are you planning to bypass the cold start problem for your intelligent systems? So would it be fair to say that you've answered about how you can utilize open libraries, and also how you can pick an existing solution that has been already trained before, or would you have anything more to add here?
I think I would like to better understand the question, because I read it in a different way. So if you can provide and rephrase it, I will address it shortly. Because I don't think he's talking about open libraries here, but I think his cold start might be related to the cold start of the session. I just want to make sure that I can answer the right question. If it's not too much, I apologize for my Italian restriction. Probably.
No worries. So Hakan, if you are with us, please comment more on your question, and maybe on the on this front, like who is it applicable for? So like, is it applicable for new businesses that start, or is it applicable for existing platforms? Like if let's say if I have an online fitness platform where I already have users and already have all the features, is it a good idea to implement it, or I should have thought about it from the beginning?
I think it's I give just an example. If a player like Peloton decides to make a move with body tracking, and although the stock price suffered quite a lot recently, we can still say that they're very good because they were able to create a new market, because before then no one was able to sell hardware at all, I would say. And the idea is really that this technology provides meaningful value to the user. It doesn't really matter whether you don't have a digital ecosystem or not. Actually, it's even better if you have it, because integrating into an experience which already provides value, then you already know how you want to leverage the technology, what are the type of insights that you can deliver at scale to your member. So it's just a question. The real question that a business should ask is, if I'm doing a session and I want to deliver my value proposition also with by not having a trainer in the spot, but whenever they are, this is a technology that allows that. Okay, because it's highly standardized, a movement is a movement, and you can deliver a great piece of information to engage your clients. In terms of integration in itself, again, there's the importance of having or finding also the right partner to integrate, because it's never about the technology, it's really about the journey and how you want to solve your pain point. And there's the technology for the accuracy, there's the user interface, there's user experience. You can apply computer vision to on-demand session, to live, to assessment. Again, how do you want to leverage this data in a way that is compelling to my member and provides value? That's the first question. Then on the technical capabilities, you will find the proper partner to solve the problem. But that's the first thing. And on the other side, specifically because today, at least digitally, there's a lot of on-demand, I think we can do better than only watching certain amazing content, but there's no interaction with it. And this is a technology that opens this door. I believe that watching content is fantastic, but it's too static. In-store, the experience is much better because there's the energy, there's this community. So how do we create this sort of environment similar that we can provide in-store, also offline, for also the people that are offline? That should be the question that I would ask myself.
Okay, and now knowing that you can do it, I think a tricky question is, a lot of people in the audience probably thinking about, how much does it cost to get there? Is it expensive to build such a solution, or get such a solution into their platform? So
well,
maybe
here
I
want to step in, Derek. Of course, this is Piero is assuming that you don't have to build this technology from scratch, on which I agree, but I want to give a different context, of course. As you can imagine, building a product in-house, such as the one we are on, it requires a lot of planning, budgeting, time. As Kacper was saying, there is a lot of work to be done. So as a provider, to build this solution from scratch is going to require a lot of time. It's a tricky question. It depends on what you want to come up with. It's going to be expensive in terms of time allocation and especially capital allocation. I can give you some ballpark numbers on our side. The challenge is to come up with a commercialized with a solution which can be commercialized. It took us 1 year to do it, and we are an early stage startup, extremely fast, only focusing on this technology. Okay. In terms of budget, as you can imagine, I won't disclose our own numbers, but it's sufficient for you to look at the market. Startups at our stage are raising millions and millions of dollars in the range from 3 to 5 to 10. And I believe there are solutions, this is not a viable solution for an already existing provider. You can, on the other side, work with a third-party solution, biased, but XTRA is an example, in which you have a faster time to market, and it's a partner. So we'll price on licensing or on usage. Is a completely different experience. Let's put it that way.
You can get the same thing that other providers use for millions, leverage millions, by aligned with your objective, that is price on usage. So when a person uses these technologies, then you can charge for it. And again, it will be tied also to the return on investment. And that's what we really want to achieve at XTRA, because we are so sure that we can deliver these important improvements on acquisition, conversion, and engagement, that we're sure that by using it, only if you're using it, then you will be charged for it.
The price of, the project, or the price of such project depends strictly on the requirements.
Yes.
You basically have. Let's look at the AI. It depends how accurate it must be. In what cases it has to work on. Less accuracy and less cases mean less work, which means less money. So you can play with the features and the capability of what can do, but still, not only AI is here present, right? Because we can't forget about the software engineers that have developed some backends and maybe perform the deployment. How should it be scalable? Someone has to do the web development part, and it also this time and for time for that part also depends on the features you would like to develop. So I believe that the price range regarding the requirement about the number of features and the accuracy would be between, let's say, 100K to 1 million even USD, right? Is that I guess this is just really rough estimate, but it really depends. It really depends. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think that our time is up for the session. We probably even use a couple of minutes more, but it's really, really great to have you here. Before we finish, let's summarize maybe the results of our survey. Let's see where the participants sit in terms of adoption. So 7 people have voted, and looks like a majority of them have already heard a little bit about this, but they are still thinking, whether this is applicable. 2 people who didn't have any clue about it, and 2 people already planning to implement. So I think that it's still pretty early stage, and I'm really happy that we can shed a bit more light to our community about those technologies. So Kacper, Piero, Michalangelo, thank you very much for joining the discussion. And I wish everybody a great day.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Derek, for organizing the fantastic webinar. Thank you, Kacper, for the insightful information. Piero will go back to work, I guess.
We'll do our best.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. It was...
And if anybody from the participants, if you still have any questions and you'd like to discuss, please reach out to us, and we'll be happy to share more insights about such solutions. We are here to help. So we are very open. Thank you and take care.
Bye-bye.